Hey friends, welcome back to another Field and Garden podcast. It is your friend Lisa Mason Ziegler, and I am thrilled to have my good friend here with me today, Dave Dowling. Hey Dave.
Hi Lisa, it's great to spend another day with you doing a podcast.
You know, Dave and I just love to gab about flower farming, but today I am really excited to share that we have made some big changes and improvements to Dave's course, Flower Farming School online, bulbs, perennials, woodies, and more. And before we start talking about what those changes are, Dave, tell us, what is the course about for someone that just knows nothing about what the course is about? What would you say that your course is about?
Okay, my course, it's 6 different classes, and each one is a different kind of crop, but we do 2 classes on bulbs, 2 classes on perennials, 1 class on woodies, woody shrubs and things like that. And then the last class is all about the basics of greenhouse and shade structures, things like that, buildings that you would grow your cut flowers in. So the first 2 weeks, we talk about bulbs, everything from tulips and lilies and hyacinths and daffodils. Then the 3rd and 4th class, it's all about perennials. Phlox, yarrow, peonies. Peonies. For one, peonies are the first perennial I talk about because that's the first perennial every cut flower grower should plant, as long as you can grow them in your area.
All right. So, and Dave, there's so many, I want to talk about perennials and bulbs, but we can't talk about that right now. So the course really takes you through things like, when you said daffodils, I remember the portion of your course that teaches people why bigger is better and more cost effective. And we're talking about bigger bulbs. So you're talking about everything from sourcing where to get stuff, what you should buy, the varieties that are best as cut flowers, all of those things. So Dave's course has been around. What year? This is the 4th year?
It was a COVID class. We did it in the spring of COVID, early 2020, and then 2021 and 2022, and now we're in 2023.
Wow. Okay. So what we wanted to do with this new change that we've made is to make this school more accessible for people. So not something that you have to wait for, because the old format or the model that we followed is enrollment would open once a year for a few short days. And then the class would start several weeks later and it would come out over several weeks. Well, friends, the big announcements that we have is that this course is now available on demand. And what does that mean? That means that you can purchase it at any time, whenever it is convenient for you, whenever the need arises that you decide you're going to take that plunge, right? So that means it's going to be available whenever you want it, and whenever it's right for you. So no longer do you have to wait, because I tell you, Dave, that was always a big challenge for me. And I know for the girls in the office, a month after your enrollment's over, people like, oh my gosh, can I get into Dave's class? And it's like, sorry, no, it doesn't. And we had reasons for doing it that way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, back when we were farming, that was, the only time of the year that we could interact with people in our Facebook community groups. And anyway, so now we have tweaked it and made it so that it is like an awesome on-demand course. So who is this class for? Is it for just beginners, or is it just for seasoned flower farmers? What is your recommendation on that?
It's for anybody who wants to go cut flowers and expand their offerings. A lot of growers start out with just annuals, and that's fine. But the more items you offer to your customers, whether it's farmers markets, farm stand, or to florist, the more items you offer them, the more things you can sell. So all you're growing is sunflowers, zinnias, and celosia. You don't have much to choose from. So I like to go with the model of Baskin-Robbins. You got 31 flavors. You're going to sell more. You're still going to sell lots of the chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry, which would be your sunflowers, zinnias, and cosmos, and things like that. But when you start throwing in peonies and phlox and daffodils and tulips and ranunculus, you have some more items to offer your customers, and you'll sell more. And you'll see your sales go through the roof if you're selling flowers, or if you're just a diehard gardener who likes to just grow lots of stuff and you garden every day that you can, it gives you new crops, new ideas, new things to grow in your garden.
That is so true, Dave, because it is definitely a smart business move to sell more to the customers that you have, because it costs a lot more to find more customers, right? So expanding your offering, that's really great advice. And of course, because I'm an ice cream lover, that was an excellent example.
I always do food in it somehow.
And so, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned gardeners, because I find that your information in here about growing perennials, particularly, and then I think of woodies are about the same, and the bulbs. This is information that's not really available out that I have seen on the market. So you do not have to be a flower farmer, or even to say you're going to be a flower farmer. It is available to anybody that just wants to grow these groups of flowers better, right?
And also to people all over the world, basically. We've had students in Australia, Hungary, and some countries that had to look them up on the map to see where they were. It's applicable to pretty much anywhere in the world. You might have to tweak your zones a little bit. If you're in Australia, your summer's in December, not August, but it still works for you. It still tells you what you can grow.
Yeah, so very, very true on that. So Dave's course, which is different than all of our other school courses in the way that he laid it out. Dave's course literally is laid out like an encyclopedia. I mean, if you want to learn about tulips, you can go right in, look at the syllabus, go straight to the tulips, and learn exactly what you need to learn, because we have heard so many of your students say, I carry Dave Dowling in my back pocket. And what in the world are they talking about? They're talking about that our courses we have a phone app for them. And so you can just, if you've got internet access, all you have to do is log in and pull up your course, and you can just scroll straight to whatever plant or flower you're trying to, I can remember Jonathan saying, I can remember being out in the field and I forget which perennial it was. It wasn't one I was actually familiar with. And it was like, how far apart did Dave say to plant those? And she said, I pulled him out, went straight to it in the course, and knew everything I needed. I mean, I think that is huge.
Right.
All right. So one of the other things that the way your course is laid out that is so incredibly awesome. So let's just say if you buy this course in the middle of the summer, you can go straight to, and you're thinking about your order for the fall, for all those fall planted perennials and bulbs. You can just go in and go straight to those. I mean, it's the same thing that Jonathan pointed out to us. You can go in and go straight to that course or that flower that you're trying to learn more about. And I mean, I think that the way that your course is laid out is perhaps one of the most friendly for people to really embrace this as a tool that they can use for the rest of their flower farm and business journey, right? I mean, because don't you find people add more and more flowers each year as they get it under their belt?
Definitely. I think I have 30 perennials in my class, and I never recommend someone adding all 30 in 1 year. You'll end up with nothing but a field of weeds because you won't be able to take care of it. So I always recommend adding 2 or 3 every year until you've got your total crop mix that you're going to use. And sometimes you might have something you say, I don't like that anymore. It doesn't sell in my neighborhood. My customers don't like it. It's fine to get rid of that perennial and put in something different.
Yes.
You might find that you just don't like the way it harvests. It doesn't bloom at the right time of the year for you. It's okay to drop it and grow something else.
I mean, and isn't that the darn truth? You know, you do not have to keep everything that you plant. You have to kind of experiment and to kind of build on what you're talking about. We've really tried to move our schools towards them not really being a school, like you go to school for 6 weeks and then you have a test, which we never gave tests, and then it's done. We really wanted to make it a reference tool so that people, particularly in your class, can add more and more each as they get stuff under their belt, right?
Right. Even somebody might watch the part on tulips, but they don't have a market to sell in March and April. So they're not going to grow tulips yet. But in 2 or 3 or 5 years, they might say, okay, now I'm ready to grow tulips because I have a place to sell tulips in March. So then they can start doing tulips, and the information is there for them to go back and look it up.
And so one of the new things that the improvement that we made on the course is we couldn't really improve on Dave's syllabus. It is so clear cut, go right to whatever flower you want to do. But we just had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of frequently asked questions. And so those questions have now been time-stamped and keyworded. So you can actually search for whatever your keyword is, and a list will come up where all those show up in the course. And
Right.
so you can go find them. And I mean, Dave, I don't know, I know that your frequently asked questions were like mine. We got so many of them, and you and I, and it is actually, Dave answering those questions in a video is the answer to those questions, but you can actually search topics. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, right. So if you're trying to plant some weird perennial you've never done before, you can look up Aromaris and find it every time it's in where it is in the class and whenever it was in the question sessions to find the information on Aromaris or any other.
And that's so true. And, that is, I think search is one of the most underused values in everything, in Facebook groups, on websites. I mean, that's because I own a website and I know how powerful searches are and how much work it is to make the websites feed the search. Right. I use them. And so I want to say to people, oh my goodness, on these courses, the search feature that's in your course is so valuable, so valuable. So Dave, I want to talk just a minute about the student communities, which is a Facebook group. It is 100% private and closed. It's only for your students. And it also has a search in it, right? But in place of those, weekly Q&As, people can continue to reach out to you through the Facebook group when they have a question that nobody seems to be able to answer, that they want your input on, right?
Yeah, they can post it on the Facebook group, but often another student's going to answer it faster than I do. But yeah, you ask Facebook and you're going to get help. It's like having a bunch of great employees to kind of talk with while you're out in the field or sit in your desk and say, hey, what's the spacing on this? Have you ever tried growing this? When do I harvest it? Somebody will help you with the answer.
It's true. And I know that for my group, I don't have a set day and time, but I try to drop in and out of there every week to 10 days or so. And it just keeps you in contact. But I, like Dave, find that so often other growers have answered it based on what they've learned in the class. And so what grows out of that is a close-knit community that is, you just can't find that anywhere else. Everybody that kind of has the same goal in mind, it's like these mastermind groups that people have. Those are people that get together that have one common goal, and then they get down to work. And that's how I really feel about our student communities. Those are the people that want to interact. They want to share information. They want to learn more information from other people that are doing it. So it is just really, I have always been a big community member, but I think I love seeing how they've developed. And I know you're in your group from time to time and answering questions. So that's really a big part of this. So as we look forward, is our hope, I guess, with these courses is that they'll be helpful in kind of forming and giving the backbone to future generations of flower farmers, right? As you know, when you and I were farming full-fledged, we could have never done this.
No, there's a time commitment just to making the class and then being interactive with it as it goes. Active all the time.
I want to just answer a couple of questions that Kelly was shooting them to me right before we came on here that people are asking about the classes. Is one thing, is enrollment limited? And it is not limited. We've said that people from all over the world, right, Dave?
Yep.
And it doesn't matter if you're a flower farmer or not.
Right.
So it's open to novice gardeners, beginner flower farmers, seasoned flower farmers. And I also offer that Dave shows you or tells you the method to grow this stuff. So if you're a flower farmer and you are struggling with a crop, you may actually not even be growing it the way that flower farmers grow that crop, right,
Yeah.
Dave? Oh my gosh.
A lot of cut flower crops that we grow, whether it's annuals or perennials, they're not spaced the same. They're not grown the same as what it says on the label or in a regular gardening book. You're planting them close together, pruning them totally different, cutting them at different times. So it's the cut flower version of growing things is very different than just in the landscape.
Right. And I'm telling you, speaking from personal experience, when you try to grow perennials, bulbs, and woodies as a gardener for commercial production, it'll take you down. I mean, it just overwhelms you because you just don't even know what you don't know, right? So, Dave, I just want to run through. I brought up on my phone our description of your course, just to kind of about what you're going to learn in this course. And we have a moment, so I thought I'll just run through it. What perennials to grow, weed management and perennial production, how to keep perennials producing for a lifetime. That is huge. People think you plant perennials once and you're done, right? It's not quite that simple, is it?
Some of them last many, many years. Some do wear out after a while. They might be good for 5 years, and you just replant them.
Then we have growing bulbs in the field, in crates, in tunnels, and in greenhouses. Woody plant selection and production for flowers and foliage. Let's just mention foliage for just a minute, Dave. I mean, I think you're the one that told me that Ellen, our friend, our resident expert on floristry, who is Ellen Frost of Local Color Flowers, told you what about foliage?
About 30 or 40% of what she uses on a weekly basis is not flowers, but foliage. And I was just talking today to one of her growers, and she's got tons of flowers blooming out, but don't have any foliage.
Oh,
just
my
because
goodness.
she didn't. So it's the same thing, she's selling all the flowers, but you could sell another 20 or 30% more if you had the foliage to go with it. And the foliage can be any of the woody shrubs, perennials and annuals that you can grow just for the foliage, not for the flowers.
I was really intrigued by the number of shrubs that provide foliage. I mean, there's really, really a lot of them. All right, so back to the list. So we have woody plant selections and productions for flowers and foliage. We have high tunnel and greenhouse production. That's a class, the last class, which is like the basics, and this is kind of what it takes to start. If you need to learn more, but this is kind of the ground foundation, right?
Right. It gives people the idea, do I really want to build a greenhouse or a tunnel or shade structure? Here's what it entails to do it and what the benefit is of it. But if you really want to get into growing greenhouses and tunnels, you need to learn more than what's in this class.
Yes.
And the class comes in, but that's a whole nother discussion.
Yep. And then you have marketing tips for increasing sales, harvesting steps for bulbs, perennials, and woodies, and then season extension. So it's really not just about here's what you should grow. You tell them where to get it, what size you should get, what varieties, and then actually growing it.
Right.
And, for someone like me, where I am in life, I appreciate so much someone that just give me the darn facts. I have so much I need to do and take in. Just tell me what I need to do and I'll go do it. And I feel like your class is so about that. I mean, It's really, really getting down to where the rubber meets the pavement, right? All right. So here's just a couple other tidbits. There's PDF downloads. There is unlimited lifetime access to the entire course and its resources. Of course, we have the optional community in Facebook, which we feel like is just a big piece of continuing your journey. Because, man, there's nothing worse than having a disaster, whether somebody eats your crops gone or some weather event. To have a group of people you can go in and just bare your soul. They run in like a bunch of ants and just pick you up.
Right. And also, people go on the Facebook group and will be showing their success stories. Well, look how great this crop grew. I sold it all. So it's both, go there for help and also kind of brag a little bit or just, share your successes.
It's true. It is really true. Yeah. So friends, so Dave's course, Flower Farming School Online, Perennials, Bulbs, Woodies, and more is now available. It's $595. And here's the question I have. What else could you spend $600 on and gain so much? Nothing, right,
Uh,
Dave?
Yep. Yeah, you earn your money back on your first peony crop, the first time you pick your peonies, when you grow the right peonies and get them planted on time.
Is that not true? Because I really, it's hard for me to talk about this because people say, well, of course you'd say that. You produce courses, but friends, your education is not just courses. It is also going to conferences, networking, going to meetings, going to farm tours based on different farming groups do those. All of those things together just make you a very complete, well-versed, and if nothing else, a place to go when you have a question come up that you don't know the answer to, right?
Yep. I think taking my class and people have taken your class, it has definitely helped people expand their cut flower business. Some of the people who have taken my class and your class, or maybe both, I'm sometimes amazed at what they've become in such a short time, 3-4 years later, and they're like, wow, look how much stuff they're growing, how much stuff they're selling, how many employees they have now, where they just wanted to ramp up their businesses and really did after taking our classes.
Yeah, it's so true. I think of Daniel at Petal Pickers. I look at Nicole in Flower Hill. I always get her.
Flower Hill Farm.
Yeah. And I mean, and they're just the top, those that I communicate with on a regular basis, but yeah, it really makes a really, really big difference. So Dave, thanks so much for joining me here. And I am going to put in the show notes a link, obviously, to his course where you can learn more about it, make a purchase. And again, friends, I'm telling you, invest in yourself and the rewards come in your business. So anything else you want to say, Dave?
Nope, that's about it. We've said everything we can.
Yeah, there you go. All right, friends, until we meet again, remember you can learn more about the Gardener's Workshop and all the work we're doing and all the courses and lots of other resources over at thegardenersworkshop.com. All right, friends, ciao.
Thank you.